Hello, this is video number 2 after the introduction. I'm going to read useful language for lesson diaries. It's meant to be for pre-intermediate students, but it might be useful for other people too. As we read the sentences and you repeat, notice sentence structure, okay? Notice how in English it's kind of simpler to think in English. It's kind of simpler than in Spanish in terms of syntax. And notice the tenses, okay? Because it's this exercise and this activity of writing lesson diaries to share on the platforms helps us review the use of the past, okay? So, guiding idea for whatever it is we write. What did we do the other day in class? What did we do the other day in class? The other day, okay? What did we do the other day in class? We use the past simple. What did we do the other day in class? Because the other day is totally detached from now. It is complete. It is totally past. Okay, there is no connection to now. Okay, detached. Detached is the opposite of attached. Attached, unido. Detached, desligado, desunido. Okay. Okay, so sentences for the introduction. For example, today we did a lot of things in class. Today we did a lot of things in class. Today we did a lot of things in class. Or of course, you in the introduction you can say, well, you can have greetings first, right? You can have dear classmates, right? Sorry, I forgot about that. Dear classmates. Dear all, okay? Dear all. Today we did a lot of things in class. Or for example, today it was only me in class. Today it was only me in class. Or today it was only me and Julia in class. Today it was only me and Julia in class. But the lesson was very interesting. But the lesson was very interesting. Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you about it. Or let me tell you what I remember. Or let me tell you what I remember. Or let me tell you a bit about it. Okay, a bit about it. The next block is activities done in class. Activities done in class. As you know, we work with the skills, with the 4 skills, speaking, listening, reading and writing. En clase, ¿cómo se pueden contar las actividades que hemos hecho en clase? Pues por ejemplo, ¿esa está mal? Doing a summary. We practiced doing a summary of what we did the day before. We practiced doing a summary of what we did the day before. So the sentences are reported speech warm-up. Esta frase nos sirve para introducir el tema del estilo indirecto, ¿vale? Ya os la explicaremos en clase, pero bueno, ahora estaría bien que os la aprendierais, pero no es to make a summary, como he puesto yo, sino to do a summary. No sé por qué me he equivocado. Bueno, I practiced explaining what the teacher explained the other day. Or I practiced explaining what the teacher explained the other day about whatever. Or I practiced explaining what the teacher explained the other day. It was about, she talked about, podríais añadir, ¿no? She talked about. Then we had orals, or we did orals, or oral exercises, okay? Or students did their orals, or whoever, quien fuera, whoever did her or his oral, y luego el título, it was called, da da da, whatever, okay, whatever, it was called, cold, cold no es frío, frío se dice cold, 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 cold es llamado. It was about, y dices el tema, si no te acuerdas del título, pues pones it was about, whatever, okay? Then, we practiced dialogues or conversations, or we practiced our dialogues, or we practiced our conversations, or we improvised a conversation, on particular situations. You can say at the airport or at the pharmacy or whatever, okay? We heard an audio and then listened and repeated. We heard an audio. Escuchamos un audio y después escuchamos y repetimos. We heard an audio and then listened and repeated. We listened to an audio, es posible también. We listened to an audio. Siempre hay que poner el to. Y lo único es que heard es más como general más desde lejos. Y listened to es ya ahí como visualizando que lo estábamos trabajando, que teníamos toda la atención puesta en ello, ¿no? Es como cuando decimos I saw a film y we were watching a film. Ya cuando estás ahí en el detalle de la acción, ¿no? Hombre, siempre se dice we were watching TV o I was watching TV porque, ¿no? Pero con lo de ver pelis o escuchar algo, podemos usar see o watch, o podemos usar hear o listen, depende de si es una cosa mucho más general, ¿no? O si quieres que se visualice el trabajo, el momento en que se hace, ¿no? Okay, so you can use heard, okay? We heard some audios, sobre todo cuando decimos we heard some audios, no uno solo, ¿no? Y más bien si es uno solo, pues puedes decir we listened to an audio, por ejemplo, como truco, ¿vale? Okay, let's continue. We practiced pronunciation with listening and repeating, porque eso es un tipo de ejercicio, L and R. We practiced pronunciation with listening and repeating. We used no sé qué audio, whichever audio, ¿vale? Whichever audio. Por ejemplo, we used the audio number 1.3, or we used the holiday audio or the hotel audio, whatever, okay? You identify the audio. Or we played whichever audio, no? Audio 1.2, or we played the audio about the hotel, or we played whatever, okay? The title. Somebody, whoever spoke about something, right? It was great, or it was very funny, or it was very interesting. Someone did her adapted monologue, or did his adapted monologue, based on the one on the audio web called da da da. And here you mention the audio on the audio web that is helping you learn the structures and how to structure your text, okay? You have to use the audios on the audio web because they are going to help you with the selection of the structures and also to learn how to organize the text, how to organize the information in the text, okay? Then, and we corrected mistakes, and we corrected mistakes. Not corrected, sino corrected. Correct ends in a dental, so we need an I for a vowel support to separate the two dentals. Okay, so corrected mistakes. This was good because we learned how to whatever. Okay, this was good because we learned we learned about this, or because we learned a lot, whatever you want to say. Okay, then we took interesting notes for our list of mistakes. We took interesting notes for our list of mistakes, or we took interesting notes for our LOM. Here, y ponéis here, and then you can copy your notes. Okay, for example, notes from what you learned in class. Their list of mistakes, and remember the list of mistakes has different sections for grammar mistakes, or for pronunciation mistakes, or for methodology, whatever. Okay, for example, for spelling and pronunciation mistakes, to avoid, of course, para evitar, ¿no? Pues la típica pareja, written and writing. No, you pronounce, or you mispronounce, or you misspell one or both of these words, right? Written and writing. Well, remember, write a few phrases or sentences and pronounce them correctly, like this. For example, a writing task or a writing assignment, right? A writing task. It's pronounced and spelled in this way. A writing task. Or a written text, as opposed to oral text, right? So a written text. Or I love writing poems. Or I am writing an email to Jane. So remember that the most usual form of the verb is the ing form, writing, because it appears in different verbal phrases. It appears in the present continuous. It appears after verbs of likes and dislikes for British people. I love writing, okay? In the USA we say, I love to write, so there's no difference there. But anyway, I would love to write a letter this evening, for instance. Or we improvised speaking freely for 1 minute. Another set of useful language of sentences for your diaries around the issue of listening activities, for instance. We listened to the #1 audio on the Talking People podcast, or we listened to the audio talking about the winter holidays on the Talking People podcast, or we listened to the audio about with a conversation in a hotel from our course materials. Do you see what I mean? You need to adjust this. These are just ideas, okay? We listened to the audio. You can also say we listened to the audio in the hotel or at the hotel, and then we did listening and repeating, the type of activity, okay? L and R. You can also write it L and R, L&R. And then we did L&R. So it's shorter, okay? It's good for the diary. Capital letter L and R, okay? L&R. And then we answered some questions and checked our answers. And then we answered some questions and checked our answers. And finally, for instance, you can say, we reported. We reported our results so the teacher could jot them down, a phrasal verb, write them down, escribirlos, jot them down, anotarlos, anótalo, jot it down. Pues, so the teacher could jot them down and we could all talk about it. Sí, porque nosotros hacemos también coevaluación y autoevaluación. Tenéis que saber en todo momento cómo vais, ¿no? Y saberos autoevaluar bien, no ese churro de autoevaluaciones que os hacéis, ¿no? Espero que ya hayáis empezado a mejorar. Bueno, then we have another set of sentences about reading, right? Let me scroll down. I'm going to scroll down. Yes, reading aloud. Okay. So, for instance, you could also write in your diary, we did some reading aloud. You can include reference to the source, no? We did some reading aloud from, if you're reading a book in class, no? Like we're going to do now in segundo B, presencial, ¿no? A book, a little book. Or los epónimos, ¿no? The eponyms, too, for everybody. We did some reading aloud, o las transcripciones, acordaros de los audios, que es muy importante, ver si después del oral, si sabéis leer en alto con corrección. We did some reading aloud, para tener nota de reading aloud. Y luego, we read, no sé qué. We read, for example, we read the transcript of, y decís algo, ¿vale? O we read an article, or we read chapter 1 of whatever, okay? Before this, we had listened to its audio. Aquí es el único past perfect que está incluido en este conjunto de frases, y quiero que os fijéis bien porque la frase es we read no sé qué, o sea, va en pasado simple, we read no sé qué, y decimos, y antes de eso we had listened to its audio, antes de eso habíamos escuchado el audio. Entonces, esto es muy importante para acordaros que cuando queremos decir una acción antes de esa acción del pasado simple, muchas veces, aunque no todas las veces, pero es como en español, pero unas veces sí que hay que ponerlo en pluscuamperfecto, en past perfect. Entonces, bueno, ahora no sé si se llama pluscuamperfecto. Entonces, aprenderos esta, we read no sé qué, before that, we had heard its audio at home. For example, we had heard its audio at home, or we had listened to its audio at home. ¿Vale? Aprenderos esas dos frases y así pronunciáis bien. Podéis meter el heard, to hear, heard, para acordaros que también se puede usar en general, ¿vale? Cuando no visualizamos ese momento. O listened to, con el to, siempre poniendo el to, siempre, ¿vale? Bueno. The teacher corrected our pronunciation mistakes. Typical mistakes were, fijaros cómo se introduce la frase, no hay que poner frases muy complicadas, fijaros, son 3 palabras y luego ponéis la lista de las cositas que se pusieron en la pizarra, de errores o las notas que tomasteis. Typical mistakes were, o the mistakes were, y ponéis las cositas. Por ejemplo, aquí yo lo he redactado pues para que aprendáis más vocabulario. We tend to mispronounce the O in Mother, Monday, Money. Tendemos a pronunciar mal la O en Mother, Monday y Money, porque la gente dice Monday, Mother, Money, y eso no es así, es ma. Vale. We did a reading comprehension exercise. Cuando decimos reading exercise no queda muy claro, porque reading exercise puede ser, por ejemplo, reading aloud. Si os referís a que el ejercicio es de esos como vienen en los libros de texto, decir un reading comprehension exercise, que son los que vienen con preguntitas de a ver si has entendido, ¿vale? Comprehension es para ver si has entendido, ¿vale? Bueno. Y luego, the next block of useful language is no sé quién, whoever, quien sea, whoever read her writing or future monologue, based on the audio, si le añadís eso, based on the audio no sé qué, on the audio web. Digo on the audio web porque como la audio web está en una pantalla, todo lo que está en una pantalla lo decimos con on, ¿no? On the audio web, dices based on the audio, o incluso podríais ponerlo de modificador, based on the audio web, audio, and the teacher corrected her mistakes, and the teacher corrected his mistakes. And then we took notes for our LOM, we took notes for our LOM, or we took notes for our list of mistakes. Aunque escribáis LOM, podéis leerlo entero, list of mistakes. And now we need to check our notes are right. And now, por ejemplo, podéis decir, I need to check my notes are right. So that's why I am going to copy them here on my lesson diary. So that's why, por eso, I'm going to copy them here on my lesson diary, o in my lesson diary, podríais ponerlo también. Es que como lo estoy viendo en pantalla ahora, esto con el COVID nos está cambiando, ¿no? In my lesson diary sería en papel, on my lesson diary sería que lo estoy viendo en pantalla, ¿no? Pero si me veo dentro de lo que es el lesson diary, dentro del mensaje, podría incluso decir in. Hay gente que dice in también, aunque esté en la pantalla. Bueno, ya sabéis, the safest on. Bueno, on my lesson diary. Y entonces here they are es una cosa que no, here it is o here they are son cosas que nos sirven para presentar una lista de ítems, ¿vale? Here they are, aquí están, y pones la lista de cosas.